Courtney Barnett's new album starts as some of her fiercest and moodiest material, and for the better. Then it fizzles out, but somewhat uplifted thanks to the self-help seminars and mantras throughout. But before we talk about Courtney Barnett, let's talk about Courtney Barnett. It's easy for listeners to listen to music by the Australian songstress and just dismiss it as boring considering her dry, deadpan delivery, but like, that's the point, eh? In the same way that a deadpan comic would give somewhat interesting commentary on the world around them to make humorous points, but in a humorously nonchalant way, Barnett does the same, and on her debut album plus the great single Avant-Gardener released a few years before that, she understands how mundanely detailed storytelling can help to not only be mildly entertaining, but also to radiate a connection between the listener and the artist. I don't know, a few months ago I attended a spoken word poetry workshop where Daniel Bennett gave tips on how to make poems connect most with the audience. She was also like the nicest, most encouraging person ever. A big part of this whole thing was leaving in lots of details personal to your experience, because those specifics help paint the picture. They help others imagine your experience, and even allows them to draw similarities to experiences of their own. This is what I loved the most about Avant-Gardener and the album Sometimes I Sit and Think. Aside from genuinely catchy and sharp indie rock instrumentals, Barnett was just a really clever and witty songwriter.
The paramedic thinks I'm clever cause I play guitar. I think she's clever cause she stops people dying.
Hold up, Ricky. Did you just say was a clever and witty songwriter? I mean, that was just a bit of a faux pas, and I'm sure she still is, and she shows it with dry humor quips like those on the anxious Nameless Faceless and the slow cooking closer Sunday roast, which, much like a good dinner, takes lots of time to get to the most tender and satisfying parts. But as much as I appreciate all the upfront honesty that comes off so much more blatant this time round, they make these songs really pale in comparison to the much more detailed and funny songs from before. When we get lyrics dropping in like sometimes I feel sad, maybe it's not that bad, I genuinely feel like there's a big nuance missing there. The commentary there is just so undescriptive, and I feel like the themes of self-improvement and self-work are worthy of more of that sweet, sweet lyrical nuance. On Bright Sides Galore, Barnett's newly developed fierceness and moodiness shines through in the instrumentals, and this absolutely lifts the album in its first half, with Hopefulessness becoming exactly the slow-burning beast it wanted to be, its build-up roaring and bleakness ringing. Then the second track, The City Looks Pretty, kicks right in with a jangly melody and generally lovely demeanor in its first half, and then slows into a more reflective tempo for its second. It's up there with the previously mentioned Nameless, Faceless as one of the best songs on the album, and that one is a song with a hook that reminds us of gender disparity and generally terrible things that men inflict upon women, this done by quoting Margaret Atwood. Now if you could take that message from Idols, you can take it from Courtney Barnett too. But it's charity with the most immediately catchy melody and especially hook, the kind that leaves you humming it partly because it's so well written and partly because most of the rest of the album after it feels so inept in comparison. Barnett's deadpan vocals never felt like a big liability at all, at least to me anyways. I actually found them really endearing, but here on this album they're a big contributor to why this album becomes snorecore in its second half. I don't think these are bad songs at all, but the down low demeanor makes these songs feel as if they drag on for longer than they need to, like we're hearing the same chorus or guitar lick too many times. Courtney Barnett is an artist whose personality has mostly shown through in her lyrics, and with that side toned down, it's a little bit difficult to find this as interesting as her debut, despite some genuinely great takeaways that this album starts off with. I'm giving this album a 5 out of 10, and now I'm gonna listen to Avant-Gardener.